unfolding beneath the gray skies.
Welcome, everybody, to the Hey Bellingham podcast. It's a podcast about all things Bellingham. Each episode, we chat with local business owners, artists, musicians, and other community members to learn about their stories and what makes Bellingham so special. We are also sharing tips on where to eat, drink, and play in our beautiful city. Whether you're a longtime resident or visiting, Hey Bellingham is the perfect way to get to know your community. So sit back, relax, and enjoy listening to Hey Bellingham. Today, we're really excited to have our guest, Andrew Shelton. And Andrew is a friend of Cheung and I's, and he is a fantastic real estate agent. We're going to dive into his history, how he got to what he's doing, and learn about a bunch about him and also about the industry. He's always full of insights and wisdom to share with our listeners. So he says he came over to real estate from the commercial fishing and charity fundraising worlds. What an interesting combo. We'll have to talk a little bit about that. Those two jobs drive his two main visions: to be the best and most sought after home marketing agent in town and make his business a source of support for the community and its nonprofits. So Andrew, welcome to the Hey Bellingham show.
Yeah, thanks, fellas. Thank you for having me.
It's great. I appreciate it. So, okay, it's kind of odd. Commercial fishing and charity fundraising, people don't usually equate those two. To tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I did both of them seasonally. So charity fundraising, I was a street charity fundraiser, just stood out in the street in Seattle or Chicago. A lot of foot traffic in the summers, so it was more productive. And then fishing, commercial fishing, there was all different types of fish for different seasons. So, crab, catching snow crab was in the dead of winter. Pacific cod was in the fall. Sockeye salmon were in the middle of summer. Chum salmon were in the late summer. So I kind of was able to stitch together different weave in and out of those two jobs based on, what fishery I was in and which cities needed good fundraisers for the company. I worked for a for-profit fundraising company that, contracted with a big international nonprofit.
A for-profit fundraising company. That sounds kind of funny to me for some reason.
I only had to explain it to like a million people.
Right.
I'm standing out there on the street.
Okay, so tell us the myths about fishing that we have wrong, that us lay people that don't know anything about that world. Yeah. What are we confused about?
Yep. So, deadliest catch, of course, is the common reference point for that's the masses know the most about fishing via that show. The myth, the key myth is that the fishermen don't actually fight as much as the producers of Deadliest Catch say they do. Like the danger on the deck of the boat, it's bad. The cameraman on that show captured, people getting washed across the deck, and that happened to me, and it's definitely real. I discovered though that the producers on the show, I was never on the show. P.S. Thank heavens. The captain of my boat said no, because it's a hassle to have the crew just stuck. The job's hard enough without landlubbers, jamming up the works. But yeah, the producers, I guess, would tell the other crew, "Hey, we're not telling you to fight, but if you did get in, scraps with the other crew, we're not. That's okay, So they did, like any reality television, they tried to push a narrative of these rough-hewn fishers were just always scrapping. So yeah, so that the key myth is there are a lot of boats where everyone just gets along and takes a deep breath if they feel like they're about to pop off at one of their crew. But there are times when you're just so fatigued, that your attitude and ego, just people kind of, their egos start bouncing off each other. But you're out there catching fish. You're out in the middle of the ocean. You got to patch it up, get back to work. So
Did you start doing that in Seattle, or did you do that when you moved to Bellingham?
Oh, I did it for 10 years, right? I dropped out of college in the upper Midwest, wasn't having a very good time, and just went straight from last day at school. 3 weeks later, I was lying on my back in a boatyard in Alaska, cutting rotting fiberglass out of the keel of a boat with a sawzall that they had run the boat up on the beach and stove the keel in the year before. So my first job was just a white painter suit and protection with just rotting fiberglass just raining right down onto my face.
Wow.
But yeah, so that started Cheung. I did 10 years. Every summer I worked I worked for 10 years doing summer sockeye salmon in Bristol Bay. I did 10 seasons over about 14 years. A couple other, I took summers off a few times to fundraise for the nonprofit. So
Nice.
So,
So how did you make the switch from commercial fishing over to real estate?
I'm gonna give you all the I'm gonna give you the PG rated version for the public consumption on the podcast. But I'm a Northwestie. I'm a diehard skier. So Mount Baker is the stuff of legend to us. And so we had come to Bellingham 100 times to recreate, ski, and swim and have fun. And my best friend lived here, and I did get in a bit of a scrap cod fishing in the Bering Sea in the fall. And I was visiting. I flew back to Seattle to take a break from Dutch Harbor, and I was visiting my best buddy. And we ended up. I said, "Hey, let's go have fun. I need to blow some steam." And so we were out, out in the town, and his friend in real estate offered me a job. And we were just chatting, and I told him that I had been a charity fundraiser, which is definitely requires a lot of extrovert type personality. And, he offered me a job, and I was a little banged up. And I said, "Hey, Joe, just so you know, look at my face. Like these are injuries from fighting. I am, I'm not the super polished. I'm not like your classic pinstripe suit, Porsche driving realtor." And he said, okay, he didn't care. And so I interviewed with him a couple of times, and then did a couple more fishing contracts to get, some seed money to start the real estate business, and the rest is history.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So would you say are the translatable lessons from fishing and raising funds to real estate that just other people don't understand, that are at your advantage, that you have because you've gotten those experiences?
Yeah. In terms of the Bering Sea and just fishing in general, like if you don't do your job, it can really hurt people. Like people can actually die. I was a salmon boat captain, and I made a couple of mistakes, and my crew almost got hurt. And I was mortified. It haunts me still. I could have, one of my crew could have had an eye patch for the rest of their life. I won't get into the nitty gritty, but real estate, people don't understand that, when you're hiring a realtor to sell your biggest asset, there's a lot of gravity to that. And that's the most valuable thing you own. If they're lazy or they cut corners, they just don't work as hard as they could, the client will really get hurt, and they'll never know. When people mess up in the Bering Sea, somebody gets crushed by a big 1,000-pound pot and they get hurt. It's the frustrating thing about real estate is, if a buyer's agent doesn't fight hard enough to get their buyer the lowest price, or if they don't fight hard enough to get their seller the highest price, the client often is not keyed in on that. And so I just bring the same gravity of these are these people's lives. I need to work as hard as I can and leave no stone unturned to get it done for them. The fundraising side was you just trust the world. You just put out as much love and energy and effort as you can, and just have the faith that it will come back around. I would stop someone on the street and I'd say, "Hey, please sponsor a poor kid. You're going to donate $20 a month, and that kid will get school books and supplemental food, and we'll help their parents learn to cook, and we'll get them to the doctor." And people would say, my car's in the shop and I can't do that. And it was just so easy to be so mad and just judgmental and self-righteous. But you kept a smile on your face, just kept it chipper. And when you did that, when you're in that just high frequency, just good vibrations, just trust in the world, you get a bunch of donors. People will just walk up to me and say, "Hey, here's my debit card. I've seen you out here 1,000 times. I've seen people push you. I've seen people spit on you." And you just were like, "Okay." And I just was like, "What the hell is that guy doing?" And I went and looked up your charity, and it sounds good. And I know that you get paid. You can get bonuses based on how many people you sign up. I'm here to help you, and I'm going to sponsor a kid. It was moments like that really, that's what made the job worth doing. The string that connects them both together, fishing and fundraising, is you just can't stop until you just have to just work and work and work, no matter how hopeless it seems, until you get where you're going. So a lot of grit, both of those jobs imbued in me.
So you face the physical danger, and then you face the emotional danger of people. And then real estate has its own fears and things to overcome. So for business owners that are listening and they're dealing with their own fears, their own struggles as it relates to running their businesses, what do you have to say to them to help them overcome some of those challenges? Because in both those industries, plus the one you're in now, there's a lot of fears and challenges you have to overcome to continue pressing forward. What is your advice to them?
Just it's kind of like the serenity prayer for Alcoholics Anonymous. Work on the things you can't control. I'm big this year on budgeting. I'm making sure my business is well capitalized. I mean, I'm being really disciplined, which is, I wasn't taught that as a kid. On the other end of it, just to keep trucking. I mean, yeah, 95% of businesses in America fail. The 5%, those are people who just had the grit after a down year on COVID to just say, you know what, I'm going to call my cousin, I'm going to raise $50,000 and I believe in myself and I'm going to keep this business floating until, I know that I can do it. Like that. That is the attitude that got me through COVID. Being a realtor was just keeping the faith and just having the discipline and within myself to, make sure my business had what it needed to survive.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You mentioned COVID, and it seemed like real estate was doing good during COVID, right? So there's a lot of the home values were going up, and people were buying houses like crazy. They were moving around, and it seems like the market has kind of changed quite a bit since that, height. And being a real estate agent, I imagine it's pretty hard. A lot of them will fail maybe in the market downturn.
Yeah, you're right, Cheung. I mean, it's wild how it's just kind of inverted. Like we thought the first 6 months were really hard, but then things started to just go, and it was just wild. I mean, nobody could have predicted that would happen. I mean, we all thought that we were just going to be shut down. Everyone's going to go out of business. The first 6 months, I mean, there were realtors got pushed off the bottom of the ladder. Now that COVID's ended and the interest rates the rates have gone back up. That's actually the real hardship is on the tail end for the realtors, with people just not wanting to move because of the, high interest rates. I mean, the 30-year average is 7.75% for a 30-year fixed mortgage. If you look back 30 years, I mean, so on average the rates aren't bad. But yeah, it's just nobody could have foreseen that COVID was a kind of a boon to some of the realtors. And then the stick happened when lockdown ended and the rates, the Fed finally increased the interest rates. It was definitely a roller coaster for sure.
What do you say to people so I have to be real candid here. I've heard in every season of real estate, whether it's the interest rates are really high and there's low inventory, the interest rates are high and there's high inventory, rates are low, there's low inventory, and rates are low, there's high inventory. Agents always say buy. What are your thoughts on that from a consumer's perspective? It can't always be a good time to buy. So how do you manage that?
The good by telling the buyers this, and I learned this from another agent who's a dear high school friend of mine who's Tiana Gallagher is much smarter than me. She just says, the right time to buy is when you find a house you love and you can't afford it. That's it. Then that means so many different things to 1,000 different personality types, but it always that advice always works. It's there's a lot of chatter right now about if the rates are higher, if you can buy a home, if you find a home you really love and you can't afford the mortgage, go ahead and snatch it up, because if the rates plummet, then we'll be back to COVID, shoot out 7 offers a house and the price is skyrocketing. But it's, that some people liked that. Like some buyers really enjoyed that rush. So I have just been kind of putting it into asking people like, hey, I know there's a lot of shades of gray in the world, but if you had to pick, would you prefer to buy a house, pay a little more up front and buy a house you really love. So that way, if the shootout started again, you're all set. You just have to refinance your house and drop your rate. You're good. Or if you enjoy a little bit more of the rush and the competition of, getting a house at a really low rate and beating everyone else that's offering on that home, it's different people. It works. People kind of sort themselves. Say, well, I like the rush. So great. Let's wait a couple of years, and if it drops back down to 3%, the rate, we'll be in the rush, and I'll help you win the bid. I know all the tricks, and other people say, well, we don't want to do that. We plan to buy a house next 3 years, but we want to be conservative. So I say, great. I've got some loan officers who can help you, buy when it's a little higher, and just get settled. So yeah, it's those agents, Kyle, are those. I'm not supposed to disparage my fellow realtors.
I think what jumps out to me, there's two things. One is, well, I want to hear you say the phrase again, but second is you're tailoring your service to the client. And if they're willing to pay at a place where the interest rates are a little higher and the market's maybe a little bit higher, then if they're willing, then you're going to join them in it. But if they're not, you're not going to force them, because that's not it's not even being ethical. But I want you to repeat, if you don't mind, maybe for my sake, but for listeners too, what your friend said that really summarizes your point here.
Deanna Gallagher, shout out, John L. Scott, Bainbridge Island. She said that the right time to buy a home is when you find a home that you love and will provide you happiness, and you can afford to buy it.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. So, Andrew, we know a little bit about you that maybe a lot of people don't know, and that's your approach to real estate. So you've already kind of hinted at it a little bit with your attitude and your experiences and stuff like that. But there's a little bit of a unique thing that you do in real estate that I think is really powerful for your business, of course, but more importantly for the community. So can you share a little bit about what you do with nonprofits?
Yeah. So every sale I close, I'll ask the client, what is their chosen nonprofit organization in Whatcom County or Skagit County or Island County, wherever, whatever county you're in. They choose a nonprofit that's near and dear to their hearts. And then I donate a portion of my income on the sale to their chosen organization after the sale closes.
So what is that for you? What does that mean to you to be able to do that?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it keeps my mind right, because I canvassed, when I was a fundraiser, hundreds of people they were worth, 7-8 figures. I mean, these people have plenty of money. And I'd say, hey, please spend $300 a year to just help one kid get the stuff that every kid deserves to have. And they weren't bad people, Kyle and Cheung. They were scared. They said, I can't, I can't do that. I've got all these things. And it was just heartbreaking. I mean, it's these people had all the money in the world, but they're robbing themselves of the happiness, of helping another person. Like, I'm sorry to be an ad, but like, child sponsorship is 1-to-1. I mean, I wrote the kids I helped and they gave me advice about dating, like it just, like I had I sponsored a little boy when he was 17. I said, I just broke up with my girlfriend. And he said, Andrew, you're going to do great. Like, I mean, I saw so many people whose minds were just broken. They were just on that money. They're just on the hamster wheel. Like they were just, they bought a Lexus, and the hamster wheel got a little bigger and shinier, and they were going to spend their whole lives, just running and stressing. And I just, the giving back donation, it helps my community. Most importantly, and it just helps me stay grateful and stay humble and stay focused on what matters in life, which is like the service of others. That's of course the baseline for my business, is to give as much as I can to my clients. But, my clients are mostly affluent, as am I. Like it just, there are people who are just slipping through the cracks, and Whatcom County, Skagit County, these are lovely places, but they're to keep them vibrant. Everyone's got to pitch in and help when you can. So yeah, just, every meal I have, every shower, every time I go to the doctor, I'm just fired up. I'm like, I have the basic human rights. I mean, this is awesome. Like, you won't catch me having a bad day as long as I have, my basic needs taking care of that, doing that job for, for 7 years, just, I have a permanent attitude of gratitude just baked in that really helps me, when the real estate market was in question, during the beginning of COVID, I just went, I'm going to be fine. I mean, I'm all set up. So yeah, just my true north is just, helping my community, helping my clients. And in turn, both those things, they help me, financially and mentally.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's very unique. I never heard of something like that before I met you. And so it's pretty cool. It's something that I try to do in my business as well, as I earn income in my business.
Awesome.
I have specific organizations that I like to give to, and I'm not going to say any numbers or the organizations, but I have 2 written checks over here for large sums of money that aren't signed and they're not dated because I don't have the money yet, but they're sitting there.
Nice.
Because just, the story of Jim Carrey where he writes himself a check for $10 million.
I love Jim Carrey. I watch all of his motivational videos. You guys all the time. Yeah. A resounding yes, Kyle. He is one of my gurus.
Yeah. So he writes that check.
10 mil.
And I was thinking about it, and I was talking to a coach / mentor, and I told him this idea I have for giving. And he said, well, why don't you just write the check? And I'm like, wait, what do you mean? He said, well, just write the check. You don't have to sign it yet, but write the check, put it out there. And so I wrote 2 of them, and for, 2 different organizations, and it's really cool to look at them sitting here. So I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I wanted to pivot though. Let's talk about Bellingham. Let's talk about the community, and what is, if you were to say to someone that's coming in to tour Bellingham, and you were to tell them to go visit, 1 or 2 restaurants and go have 1 or 2 different adventures, what would you tell them to do? What would you suggest that they do?
Restaurants and adventures.
Yeah.
That is an excellent question. I would, at first I'd go to Mycom. It's the newest Thai and Laotian food place in Fairhaven. The lady is a magical sorceress with Southeast Asian food, man. It's so good. And then I would roll straight down to the Chrysalis, the spa / hotel, looking over the water, and have a cocktail at the bar. The staff are wonderful. I would walk straight down the gangplank to Taylor Dock, and I would just jump right into the ocean.
You would. I've seen it happen.
Absolutely. Those are the 3 things that I would do if you just showed up
anytime
in the summer. I go all year, but it's, I'm a water baby.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. Any hike recommendations?
Yeah, Yellow Aster Butte it's super popular, but it's just so nice. I mean, it's awe-inspiring. Oyster Dome too on Chuckanut. It's neither of these hikes are for the faint of heart, mind you. They are a lot of vertical. But yeah, I mean, Oyster Dome, looking out, you get to look out at the San Juans. I mean, it's the San Juan Islands in the Puget Sound. It's breathtaking. Even if there's other people up there and you got to deal with crowds, those are 2 pretty special spots. From Yellow Aster Butte, you can see Mount Baker. It just looks like you can just throw a snowball and hit the side of the glacier. It's pretty nice.
Yep, that is awesome.
Sorry, I can't give away the secret spots, or people listen and be like, Andrew, come on, man, you gave away the honey hole, swimming spot like that nobody else knows about.
I do have to say, one of my best hiking experiences was I left my house at like 5 a.m. to start this, to get to the hike, and I wanted to get there before the sun rose. And so it's Pine and Cedar Lake. Climb up to Pine and Cedar Lake.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's this little left you can take that's like a side trail. And so you take that side trail and it curves you around in the trees, and you kind of lose the trail, but it doesn't matter because you know where you're going. And then there's this rock outcropping that faces east. And so you walk out, and I had no idea about this. So you walk out onto this rock outcropping, and it's this hallway of trees for, I'd say, 25 feet. And then you keep walking, and all of a sudden it was the sunrise on Mount Baker at the end, and there's nothing I could see except for the sunrise and just a tiny bit of clouds in beautiful color. It was just like, I cried. Okay. I cried. It was magnificent.
Be the softy, folks.
I am sappy. It was beautiful. but that's the kind of stuff that's out here that like if you put the effort in, you're gonna find it. And it's worth putting the effort in.
Hide and seek
Nature,
your lakes.
restaurants, all kinds of stuff. Go
Hide
ahead.
and Seek Your Lakes is a staircase. Kyle, you must be in good shape. That trail, it's like 1,500 feet of just
Yeah.
you're the last time we did that, we did it in like late October because we wanted to wait till the people were gone. It was sucked in fog up there.
Is that the one? That's the one off of Chuckanut Drive, right?
Well, Kyle, you know where the trailhead's at. It's on the backside.
It's over there. Yeah. It's in that area where a
Yeah.
bunch of those hikes are. It's
Yeah, I think I've been to that one.
it's one though that you want to lock your car. It's a spot you
Okay.
definitely want to lock your car because
Yeah.
but the little warning for people
Yep.
if they're not familiar with it. But yeah, that was the year I was training to climb Shasta in California. So I was doing a bunch of training. My dog liked that year a lot. She was very active.
Good deal.
So Andrew, when you think about your experience as a real estate agent and your other business experiences, and you're interacting with a fellow business owner and they're in a place of struggle in their business and they're kind of starting to doubt things and they're feeling like they're going to be in the 95% instead of the 5%. What would you say to them to encourage them along the way to help them keep moving?
That's a fantastic question, Kyle, because I just sent 2 emails this morning. I'm helping 2 businesses that are new. I am partnering with them to do mailers, promotional mailer for their business on one side, myself on the other. I'm paying for it. I'm paying for the printing, the mailing. That's any business owners who are listening to this who want to partner with me to do some print mail advertising, hit me up. I love supporting other businesses in word and dollar to get them going. Like it's important to me to, like I said, materially support the other businesses as well as nonprofits in this community. So if those business owners don't do that, then to just put yourself out there. I mean, I knocked on doors. I knocked doors for my job. Pay $400 to do a mailer. It just, that doubt kind of compounds if you shut down. The more open you are, and the more open you are to being rejected and trying something doesn't work, like then the worse off you'll be. But yeah, I mean the best way I can put it, just that word grit. I just saw a TED talk about this years ago, and it grit's what it takes. You got to keep at it till you either succeed or your accountant calls and says there's no more money left. Oops. Like those two options. Like I love Ed Harris and that Apollo 13 movie where he's the flight director, Gene Kranz, and he just says failure is not an option. I say that to myself pretty much in the mirror every morning because it's not for me. Like I can't. The boat I used to work on and the Bering Sea fellas sank 3 years later, and 4 of the guys I crewed with were lost at sea. They died. They got the Bering Sea swallowed them up. That's the only other marketable skill I have is rack and crab pots and fishing for salmon, and I'm not going back there ever. I also know people who got hurt salmon fishing. For my real estate business, like failure is not an option. I'm not going to go back to being cold and in danger all the time and dealing with, guys who want to beat me up. And just, that grit is the one trait that I hang on to keep my motor going.
Yeah, I like that. There's 2 things in there that stand out to me. One, you basically said community. Like come together with community. If you're struggling in your business, like find some other people that they may be able to directly help you, like Andrew's saying here, or it's more of that masterminding, collaborating together to help come up with solutions. A lot of people have a hard time admitting they're in a bad place in their business, but do it. Otherwise you might end up not where you want to be. And the second point that you're making is find that point of no return. When you find that point of no return, then it's way easier to stay committed. Like you're not getting back on a boat to get paid. And that's your point of no return, which is great because it's like burn the boats, it's that concept.
That's right.
So No pun intended. So
That's a colonial reference. Not okay, Kyle. It was not PC.
my bad. My bad.
But I think that's how business is. You gotta, you know, you have to fight and not give up, right? Because there's a lot of businesses that fail within their first 1 or 2 years. So if you don't have that attitude, it's really easy to give up.
Yeah, I
And
had two that I did that with.
oh,
I
okay.
quit way
Yeah.
too quick. And so they failed because I quit, you know.
Yeah, I don't like to just quit. I have businesses that are just kind of like been on the back burner for years, but I've never let them go. But one of these days I'm gonna go back and, revive them,
Right.
and someday they'll make some money. But and the thing about community and supporting each other in businesses, that's kind of what this podcast is about, kind of the Bellingham community, but also, helping businesses out, helping each other out, connecting businesses with each other. So, we can connect
Speaking
and
of which,
network.
Cheung, so on that point, so the two businesses I'm currently collaborating with, Lone Pine Auto Glass is over in the Haskell Business Park next to the baseball stadium. It just started up. Tyler Johnson's the principal, is phenomenally talented. Windshield installer. He can fix your window mechanisms, your rear windows. And then Jay's Kitchen is in Fairhaven. It's authentic Puerto Rican cuisine. It's across the street from our office. And I just went and had one Cubano sandwich and just went, okay, man, we need to tell the whole world about this.
I love Cuban sandwiches. Did you ever go to that Cuban place in Seattle?
Oh, yeah. With Paseos, where the line is
Paseos, yes.
The line is like 7 blocks
Oh my
every
God, that place was
Oh, yeah.
so good.
Never forget it, man.
Yeah.
I'll have to try one of these sandwiches in Fairhaven because first of all, I'm hungry, so you're not being very nice to me, Andrew. But like that sounds delicious.
Yeah, no, Jay. I mean, it's like traditional family recipes. Like Jay has Puerto Rican ancestry, and yeah, it's the real deal. So I'll be creating mailers with content from those two companies and sending it out to, email has just become so saturated. When someone gets something in the mail that they can see and feel and read, it seems to be pretty impactful. So
awesome. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for being on the Hey Bellingham show. We really appreciate it. Any final words for the listeners? How can they get a hold of you and connect with you?
They can look me up at www.andrewsheltonhomes.com. The one thing I want them to know, public to know, is that there is a better way to market your house. Please just call me. I'll show it to you. If you don't like it, you'll never hear from me ever again. Just we cracked the code for advertising people's homes just to a degree so far beyond the normal the one page, the little paragraph. It's got the kind of 4 pictures. You Mr. and Mrs. Client, deserve better than that little flyer to sell your most valuable asset, right? And like I said, when I worked in the Bering Sea, your game was on point, or people got hurt. Like if you don't market your house properly, you can get hurt and hitting the wallet. So yeah, so please reach out to me. My Instagram is Giving Back Bellingham, reflection of the nonprofit support. So
awesome.
Yeah. So, was there an offer you wanted to, share with our audience about? I think you had an offer for the home shield.
Yeah. Oh, so every home I market for sale, I purchase $1,000 12-month home warranty for the new owner of the home. So that's the warranty's live during the pending inspection phase. So it will help. I helped a seller in Sudden Valley last year. He saved $1,000 on repairs that the buyer asked for and the warranty paid for it. So it's not an offer. It's just standard. It's just me providing more value to my sellers. But that's one of the key things we just added to our package for marketing homes for sale is offering the warranty to shield the sellers from repairs requested by the buyer. Thanks for asking.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, thank you, listeners. Thank you, Andrew. We are very grateful for everybody listening and for your insights and your wisdom, Andrew. Thank you for sharing your story a little bit and letting us get to know you. And we're going to have to go try those sandwiches. So make sure to go try
Right.
those sandwiches. Look up Andrew Shelton. And we really appreciate your listening ears. Look forward to another episode coming out soon.